Kala Lalo Hawadla Yahawaba Shami Shaiba Shamakakudash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of great Nelson that rule and teach world peace, and salutations to the brothers on the four corners of this earth pushing this word and truth. And in sincerity, I'm Brother Manatazak. Get another short video. Shalom. It says, we go straight to it, you know. It says explosive diarrhea parasite spreading across 17 states. CDC warns how to reduce your risk. Right? It says the CDC has raising concerns about the spread of a parasite that can cause explosive diarrhea. Cyclosporiasis is typically spread through contaminated food or water. The CDC reported 145 cases across 17 states. Between May 1st and June 16, the FDA is working with the CDC to identify the potential sources of the parasitic infection. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention recently warned of an increase in cyclosporiasis, a parasitic infection that can cause watery, often explosive diarrhea. Among other symptoms, cyclosporiasis is caused by a microscopic parasite, cyclospora. Symptoms of cyclosporiasis typically begin within 7 days of exposure to the parasite. CDC routinely tracks the cyclosporiasis as part of an ongoing surveillance. Cases typically increase in the spring and summer months. Jurisdictions have reported an uptick in cases in the past several weeks. CDC is working with partners to investigate this increase. A CDC spokesperson told Healthline the CDC reported 145 cases of cyclosporiasis and 20 hospitalizations between May 1st and June 16th. However, more recent, a large sudden cluster of cases has emerged in Michigan. A spokesperson for the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services told Healthline that as of July 2nd, the state had 300 cases, just that state. So we went from to double the amount across 17 states to 300 in one state. Wow. Typically, Michigan identifies only about 50 cases, 50 cases per year. So that is 100 is almost like 500% more. You know? all right. The math is not my strong suit, but damn, that's a lot. All right. MDHHS is working with local health department in the southeast Michigan to investigate the large and growing outbreak of cyclosporiasis, a diarrheal illness that to identify a common exposure, said the DHHS spokesperson. The department is coordinating with multi-jurisdictional investigation, assisting in case interviews, and sharing information with the CDC and MDARD, Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development. At this time, the source or sources have not yet been identified. The FDA and the CDC are also currently working to identify the potential sources of the outbreak across 17 states. So far, the reported cases have not been linked to a single common source. 17 states have been affected by the spread of cyclosporiasis. As of June 16th, 17 states have been affected by the increased spread of cyclosporiasis. These include Alaska, Colorado, Connecticut, Florida, Georgia, Illinois, Louisiana, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, North Carolina, Ohio. Alright, so let's see the list. Right. But Michigan not there. So that was between that date from May to June. At the time of the report, New York had reported the highest number of cases. However, the CDC noted the number was likely higher than what was reported. The organization also stated that the infection cases may not be limited to these 17 states with known cases. Okay. This information did not include the sudden surge in cases in Michigan that occurred in the end of June. Alright, I was saying like 300 to like 445 in total. Individuals reported being unwell with the infection range from 5 to 86 years old, with an average age of 42. Approximately 61% of cases have been seen in females. These who were diagnosed with cyclosporiasis became ill after eating food in the United States. I didn't pay it on the do not disturb. My bad, Salakia. They did not report any travel in the 14 days preceding the onset of symptoms. That is why I believe it's Norway or them football teams and them importing the food. They don't know part of American food. That's one of the reasons why. Right. While there have been reports of hospitalizations from the infection, as of the CDC report, there have been no reports of death. Alright, so it's symptoms, blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, that is the main gist of it. What's a weird disease? Now we're going to probably say, but, we that is in the scriptures. Hold on. Let me bring it across. As little as it is, as small as it is, all this was written. You know what I mean? We have a very detailed blueprint of what's going on in society today. Alright? In Matthew 24 and 21. It says, "For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, nor ever shall be." Yeah, since the beginning of the world. In all your years of living, you ever hear about a parasite getting explosive diarrhea? That's the first time I hear about that shit. Like, be real. Um, you look up tribulation, right? Tribulation, severe distress, suffering, or a trying experience, right? Severe distress, suffering, or a trying experience. You telling me having explosive diarrhea is not a trying experience? Tell me now. Because you might say, but nah, not really that is tribulation regardless. Yeah, I mean, no cases reported death, but it could lead to severe dehydration. You know what I mean? If you don't know how to deal with diarrhea properly, if you don't understand what diarrhea is, you know what I mean? And the funny thing about dehydration is that dehydration causes diarrhea and vomiting. All right? And that worsens it because your body losing more fluid. You know what I mean? It's commonly combated with what? Electrolytes and trying to remain hydrated. You know what I mean? So your coconut water, you like things like watermelon, all these fruit waters that rich in electrolytes. You know what I mean? The juices are fruits. You know what I mean? Yes, of course, your water with a little sea salt and so on and so forth to replenish the electrolytes that your body would be losing. Because what you need to understand is when your body loses water, all right, what you think is sweat that salty taste to it, like electrolytes, all right? But nevertheless, I guess. So yeah, all this is tribulations, things like Ebola, all them thing. You know what I mean? How long it was around? It wasn't around since the beginning of time, right? Nor was cancer, right? You need to understand that, hey, these things didn't come about just like that. The Lord used his sword. Who is who? Esau, Edom, the wicked is the Lord's sword. You know what I mean? They were given the power of the sword to take what? Peace from the earth. In other words, to bring tribulation, severe distress. That is taking peace away. Paying somebody under severe distress is taking the peace away. To the math. You know what I mean? So that is what Esau Edom doing. Look at that. These things is not no coincidence. These things is never a coincidence or a mistake or something. You should just, oh no, it just happened across 17 states. Let me be real. How does it happen across 17 states? And you know what I mean? I ain't seen nothing about it on social media. I don't know if I can stand corrected. Brothers out there who live in America, maybe they have, well, obviously they would probably hear it on the news or whatsoever. But we in the Caribbean, we don't know nothing about that. You know what I mean? We don't know nothing about that. I ain't hear nobody talk about that to say. You know what I mean? But nah, bread and circus, World Cup going on. Alright? The White House was a complete circus for the 250th year anniversary. You know what I mean? Look at the times we're living in, the poison in the food. You know what I mean? Certain American foods banned in other countries. On the next side of the world, China, there are certain foods you cannot get in China that widely sold on this side of the world. You know what I mean? These Eastern Hemisphere countries, you know what I mean? they don't partake in them things because they understand the severity of the chemicals in the food. Think certain food colorings like red is yellow number four, red number four, but whatever it affects behavioral patterns in children, and you know what is used with them thing in candy. What a child love more than candy? You tell me. You know what I mean? So they make it in a way that hey, you can't get away from it because from your small it done infecting you. You know? But so the devil does move. Alright? When you go to Hebrews 13 and 14, because it is a powerful precept, yo. When you understand why we just preach the downfall of this, preach and teach the downfall of this kingdom. Alright? It says, for here we have no continuing city, but we seek one to come. You know what I mean? Here we don't want no continuing city because when they trust in Egypt, it could lead to downfall and confoundment. You know what I mean? Isaiah 60 and 2. Darkness cover the world, gross darkness the people. Alright, for behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. But Yahweh shall rise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee. Right? Who is the talk this weekend about it? The man of the Lord. That's the true servants of the Lord, worshiping him in spirit and in truth. The men who making the bodies a living sacrifice pursuant to Romans 1. Salakia 12 and 1. Alright? The ones who had their eyes up, the ones who seeing through this BS. You know what I mean? So all the bread and circles going on, and you're over there eating your bacon and hot dogs, and your sausages, and all sorts of BS, and your ribs and so on and so forth. You can end up in there. Right? And as I mentioned, I'm going to go to 2nd Ezra 16. You saw the precepts flowing, the precepts just flowing. Is it 16? Ezra 16 and is it 20? Yeah. It says, I'll start at 18. It says, the beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in the fear, shall stand in fear. The beginning of evils, what shall I do when these evils shall come? Behold, famine and plague, tribulation. All right, that's why we look up tribulation, because it being repeated, and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. The meaning of amendment, or another word for amendment, is what? Correction. Verse 20. But for all these things they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. In other words, not be always mindful of the pain they go through to be corrected. So they will keep reverting to wickedness. So go ahead, eat your swine. Hey, you eat it, bro. Good luck. That's the best I could tell you. Right? Because the elders carry preaching for 40, 50, 60 years. How much of a years the elders preaching it? You know what I mean? The elder apostles doing this. Other men coming up right behind them. Other men coming up right behind them. Then we coming up behind they. And then men coming up behind us telling all of the same things and all they keep doing what they want. And then when you all get sick, when things like this happens, you know what I mean? I bet you'll puzzle, you'll fucking bewildered. You know what I mean? They just it's like, come on, bro, come on. You know what I mean? The number one food eaten over there is either processed, is either processed food or some swine product. I am positive. You know what I mean? There's had to be some processed food that crazily unhealthy for you. You know what I mean? You know, I mean, we could Google it. Yeah, we have technology. Let me use technology now, man. All right. It says, um, the most eaten food in America. Uh, whole food ingredients. We're not talking about whole food ingredients, brother. The most eaten food. Yeah. three top foods in the US: French fries, grilled cheese, cheeseburger, hamburger, mashed potatoes, fried chicken. Uh, yeah, the most commonly eaten food in the USA. This look like we could be accurate. Let me see if we get straight to the point. I am not getting a definitive answer. Let's see what the AI was. Hamburgers, French fries, and fried chicken are most popular. Yeah, burgers, fries, fried chicken, right? And what is the number one thing in all them things? The oil, the seed oils. That they're finding out how detrimental it is to you. Right? And anybody who knows, which most people don't, I don't even know why I say that, that Crisco was made to be car engine oil, motor engine oil, and it didn't work. And the founder of the FDA is who? For all the points, for all the marbles, no one? Alright, I'll give you all the answer. The guy who created Crisco. Would you look at that? The person who authorizes what type of food is allowed to be sold to the population is the man who said, you know what, this oil not working for engines, let me use it to cook. And you all eat it, right? Now there's a certain burger restaurant, because they say burgers is one of the top foods, right? There's a certain burger restaurant who has been repeatedly under scrutiny or critique for the fact that the amount of burgers they sell per day do add up to the amount of cows it have in the country. Right? It's astronomical numbers. So people asking, where does the beef come from? You know what I mean? They get an answer, but they've been asking. So I leave it up to all the imagination, because sure we can Google that. Right? Sure we can Google that. You know? So when things like this are parasite, that causing explosive diarrhea. You never hear about that since the beginning. That is why that precept come to mind as I read about it, as I see the headline that the first precept come to my brain. You know? And they just said, this is why this system have to go, this kingdom have to go, because they ain't have nothing right. They don't have nothing right. They can't even get the fucking food right, bro. They can't. You know? So yeah, I hope this video is edifying. Hope it's packed food for thought among the Akim who watch and listen. Until next time, shalom.